Go with Unit 4, Topic 8. That is defining devolutionary factors. Now, I think devolutionary or devolution is something you can probably manage to define without having to look it up or have me tell you. But just in case you don't know, it's things kind of coming apart. Instead of evolving and becoming more together, they come apart. What is that? The first law of thermodynamics, if I remember right. Okay, things fall apart, to sum it up. So, with the devolution of states, first I'm going to start with a little bit of what I always forget with the questions. I did see, this was in an FRQ question, showing a bunch of stuff, and you're seeing some states devolving, and it'd ask you, what does it mean states are devolving? So you'd have to know how to define that, even though I didn't really put any of these slides here because I think it's a given. We're going to talk about the other thing I saw in nearly all the questions, whether they be multiple choice or FRQ, which was giving examples and analyzing examples. All right, so physical division. Switzerland has always been kind of a federal republic, meaning that they've split out powers, kind of like in our governments that we were looking at, the federal systems versus the unified systems. And Switzerland's always been that way because Switzerland is very mountainous. I'm looking at the wrong country here. This one's Switzerland. Switzerland is very mountainous, so they just had to set things up that way because it wasn't practical, especially 200, 300, 400 years ago, to try to administer the state that was that broken up geographically. So oftentimes you've got that. These regions have traditionally, I keep looking at the wrong place. These regions traditionally have always had more power than in other comparatively sized European states because of that. It doesn't always have to be mountains, but anything where there's a physical division, sometimes it could be, a territory that's not even attached, from the main country. So they're going to have more autonomy just because of the distance between them and the mainland. This one, ethnic separatism, you guys got into that quite a bit when we did the UN vote for statehood. All right, two of the things we're going to be talking about here. The Catalonia, the Catalan, which is right here, looking for independence from Spain. All right, that has to do with, they really both do, so does Basque also. But the other thing Basque has, we're going to get to here in just a minute. So, all right, we're different. We stick out a little bit. We don't really mix with you guys so much. We want to be separate from that. So what Spain has done, rather than saying, hey, you're independent, they're saying you have more self-autonomy than the rest of Spain. Okay, so they get to be favored. Other states can say, you love Catalonia more than us. You let them have this and you want to let us have that. All right, well, that's because they're afraid they're going to leave. Same with Basque, but we're going to talk about Basque separately here in just a minute. And then, another thing we've looked at deeply this year with the ethnic cleansing. To me, this one's a bit of a stretch. Yeah, when you're playing bad, and the next one's even more of a stretch. When you're playing bad, yes, you're going to get some autonomy here. So as Bosnia was torn apart, they were trying to give some of these ethnic regions more control. Of course, when you start doing this, that's the problem. Speaking of that, is this next thing, worse yet, terrorism. Some of the people in Basque who want the independence have resorted to terrorism. Well, they have given some autonomy to trying to do that. The problem with terrorism, and I hope I don't have to tell you this personally, is it's like giving in to a child who has a fit. If when you were little and you wanted ice cream and you threw yourself on the floor and said, I want ice cream, and started kicking all of the chairs and stuff, and your parents went and got you ice cream to make you stop, that was a bad setup for you. All right, you still might be laying on the floor having those kind of fits for ice cream if your parents gave in to you. I doubt if any of them did, because I don't think any of you do that. Same thing happens with terrorism. That's why you want to be very careful when people start blowing up daycares to say, oh, here's what you want. Because people say, hey, if I really want something, I just need to blow up a daycare. All right, so yes, that happens. All right, But these other reasons behind it, more so the separatism than these behaving badly, play into that just as much. So these were included in the course description, although I think those grow out of it more so than we're rewarding you for murder, or we're rewarding you for seizing people's land and forcing them to move. It's just comes into play more so than a giving into it. So I've already told you what the questions were for there, and that's really on this slide too. They're all the same. It's just a continuation of the first slide right here. More reasons. Economic control. All right, so like the Amazon rainforest. Brazil's a very big place, and most of its commerce and all that kind of stuff is on the coast outside of the main Amazon rainforest area. And all the indigenous people living in the rainforest, they would like to have some of this benefit from all of the forestry and other natural resources that are being pulled out of the Amazon rainforest. So you might see them look for local control. We're the ones controlling all the resources, and yet we're not even getting part of the benefit, much less the majority of it. So you'll see that where they will, and of course the main country doesn't want you to go, doesn't want you to become independent because you're the one with the money, right? So they're more likely to give that area that control. Another reason would be social problems. All right, religion or language. They've looked quite a bit throughout the year at Belgium, all right, with the Flems and appear more culturally like the people in the Netherlands and speak a different language than the people in the South who speak French. And then you got a little bit of German speakers here. The orange is the capital, which is kind of mixed speaking. So they're devolving, maybe to the point of becoming two separate states. All right, it usually starts with devolution, and I want to back up here a little bit and get a little bit more to that definition. It's not federalism. The United States is not devolution. It was set up that way. If, let's say, who could I pick on here? Let's say Delaware wants to start making noise, and Delaware has discovered that it has an unlimited energy source, green, pollution-free energy source, but it's all in Delaware. And Delaware is now like $1 trillion economy because of this. So they kind of want to become independent from the rest of the country rather than sharing that source of wealth. All right. They might end up getting special privileges, and okay, Delaware, you're allowed to do all of these things that the other states can't do. That's when the devolution comes in. So just keep that, in mind when we're looking at these things. It's not straight up federalism, and it's also short of, okay, you are now an independent country. It's kind of a step in between sometimes, but not always. And this last one here with the irredentism is a really good example of that. This has gone on for quite a while. It's kind of strange that it would. This area right here is culturally, ethnically more like Armenia, but it belongs to Azerbaijan. And also, Armenia splits Azerbaijan, you see on top of that. So this area pretty much has never, ever since the Soviet Union broke up, has never really been under control of Azerbaijan. They've been given pretty much complete autonomy. However, they haven't been granted independence or the right to join Armenia. In all functionality, they really have, but like if you on paper, this is part of Azerbaijan. Interesting. This is another autonomous republic too from Azerbaijan that's separated from them. So I guess they can feel like nobody loves them when it comes out to these people coming out here. Remember irredentism, all right, there's that word. That's one of those vocabulary words, like many of these things, that pop up again. Yeah, that was another unit, something else we talked about, but here it is. That's the kind of thing you're going to see on these FRQs that they have, where you just can't, I know this topic. You're going to have to synthesize here, and you're going to have to blend topics. And again, I'm going to say this often between here and now. If you get to the FRQ questions and you don't see, you don't know one of the pieces to write about, if you have to make that part up, if it asks you about some group of people you don't even know, tell them about the people on Sesame Street so that you can write the parts that you do know around the thing that you made up, and you just might end up getting there. All right, short and sweet and simple again. I'm getting spoiled. So that was Unit 4, Topic 8.